Awesome. Hey guys, how is everyone doing? Super excited to be here at Birdeye View. We've got an awesome session set up with three amazing panelists. My name is Brian Bulkley. I'm the multifamily specialist over here at Birdeye. I have been with Birdeye for coming up on 6 years now. Super excited to be walking through the renter's journey, how these lovely folks are driving occupancy with proven strategies. So I'll do some quick introductions and then we'll hop into this great session here. We've got some amazing folks here. First, we've got Christine Bachman. She's from Roots Management Group. Christine is the director of marketing and publicity over there at Roots. Roots is a really interesting group over there. They focus mainly on manufactured housing. We've been able to connect with her on a couple of different items, and they're doing some really cool things on helping folks just get into homes that make the most sense for them, and really building out the communities in and around those homes. Next, we have Sarah Kinner. Sarah is the director of marketing over at Westover Companies. Westover is a fantastic business. They have a massive portfolio of properties ranging from multifamily to commercial to you name it. They've got it under their portfolio, and so she's doing a fantastic job over there, really managing it. And as we'll go through this session, you'll really see how they have continued to keep their personal touch on everything that they do over there at Westover. And then last but not least, Allison Ross. She is over there at Fairlawn. Allison is the senior marketing specialist over there at Fairlawn. She is doing some fantastic work with their portfolio, focusing on multifamily, student housing, and some other types of properties as well. So really excited to dive into this session, and looking forward to kicking this off. Just kind of laying the groundwork, some house rules. As we're going through this will be very conversational. So please put in the chat if you guys have any questions or comments or like something, so on and so forth. Would love to interact with you guys in that way. So without further ado, we'll hop right into the first sort of topic here. So first topic that we're going to be talking about today, and we'll kind of go around the room, get everyone's thoughts and opinions and how these groups are thinking about this. So the first topic today is going to be attracting and converting prospects. I know expectations have changed on the resident side dramatically in recent years, especially as more of the leasing journey starts online and with AI. So just curious, kind of going around the room, what's the biggest change you guys have seen, and how have you adapted as it pertains to this topic here?
Yeah, I can get us kicked off. So we've actually been using AI since 2019. One of the things that we know, and one of the challenges that we're trying to really overcome, is that instant gratification piece where people expect a response very quickly. And we have about 70% of our leads come in after hours. So whether that's a Wednesday evening, a Saturday, or a Sunday, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning. About 70% of those leads are coming in. And so we really started to leverage AI in 2019 to help with that speed. Our AI is specifically focused on scheduling showings. That is their number one goal. And so since we implemented that, prior to implementation, we had about a 9% lead to show conversion. And then last quarter, we had a 40% lead to show conversion. And so the AI really, again, that speed to lead piece has been very, very helpful in order to get us to getting them in the doors to work with our team.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like, no matter what time of day, speed to lead is a really important thing. And that's something that is expected from the resident side, that, no matter what time of day, they expect you guys to get back to them. So in a timely manner. That's fantastic. Christine, how about you guys on your end? What are you guys seeing? How are you guys adapting?
So I would echo what Allison just said for sure. Instant gratification, and also really being able to hone in and pinpoint things that are happening locally, and really making our social media as well as our community web pages because we have over 200 communities for Roots Management Group across the board and across the country, and to really be able to make our pages very specific as to what's going on in the community and things that are local restaurants and local things for people to do. We like to make sure that our pages are very custom, and having AI tools has really helped us zone in on that.
Awesome. No, I love that you guys are already adopting AI in so many different areas, and leveraging it and using it to meet the residents where they're at, and to meet them where their expectations are at as well. Sarah, how about you on your end? How are you guys tackling this piece? What are you guys seeing, and how are you adapting with all the changes?
So I like to say that our company at Westover, we're a little quirky. We do things differently. So I would say we've gone kind of in the opposite direction. When COVID first hit, everybody, I'm sure, just had no idea what to expect. And when we were all working from home in the beginning of the pandemic, we were hearing a lot from our on-site teams about prospects and residents calling in and wanting that personal connection. There were times where, our property on-site team would be on the phone with prospects, and it was over a 30-minute phone call, when typically, pre-pandemic, that was a really quick, 10-minute conversation and in and out, and we were done. So we kind of regrouped after that, and we decided to create an in-house sales team to handle the leads separately from our on-site team. So now at Westover, we have a team of 12 sales specialists who their entire job is to pick up the phone, respond to emails, only about leasing. Our on-site teams are only focused on resident support and the move-in and move-out process. And I'd say that, overall, we've really, I think, improved our resident and prospect customer experience. Just by dialing in a little bit more to what was needed.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that, you guys are really putting that personal touch on it, and you guys have bolstered that sales team, made sure everyone is getting reached out to by a live person. It's cool to see a common theme where all of you guys have seen a change in the expectations, and you're all going about it a little bit different, to meet the residents where they're at, where their expectations are, whether it be with AI or AI chatbots at different times of the night, or using that in-person sales team. I think that is really, really cool how you guys are all doing that, and it kind of really brings us into the next topic here really, really nicely, is building trust, right? And so one thing you guys are all doing is from the very first time that someone reaches out, you guys are starting to build that trust with your brand, with your properties, on that front. So I guess just to talk a little bit more about this, like, once a prospect finds you guys, your reputation is often like the deciding factor of that, whether it be what they hear from their friends, what they see online in a review. How do you guys balance the control with managing all that reputation? Because with so many properties at all your different portfolios, it can be a lot to manage all the reviews that come in, manage the social comments, like all those different things. Do you guys manage that in-house at corporate? Do you guys let the local teams manage that to manage all of that? So just kind of curious how you guys are doing that over there.
Yeah, I can get us kicked off again. So for Fairlawn specifically, we've done several different routes, right? Originally, back in the day, we were doing emails. We would send reviews via email, get the property manager's response, and then we would respond from there. We've since gone away from that. It felt too much like I was kind of the bad guy sharing a negative review if they came through, and I didn't want anyone to feel hurt, from my perspective of things. I know that reviews can be very sensitive. And so now we use the ticketing feature in Birdeye, and we have the property managers write a response specifically to that. And then I completely review that and then post it on their behalf. And so we're still allowing them to make that, to provide all that data. If they mention, hey, garbage needs to be picked up more frequently, they can say, hey, yes, we've upped that to twice a week instead of once a week. And so we're getting that direct response from the teams, and then allowing that additional set of eyes, that additional oversight to make sure that kind of those emotional pieces are not prevalent, that we're saying things correctly, scrubbing for grammar, spelling, all of those things. And so we really allow those teams specifically to answer that. That also then helps them be engaged and excited about trying to get those positive reviews. So really encouraging them to continue to seek those positive reviews that come through. And so currently where we're standing, because of different incentives we've run with our team, we have well exceeded our 2025 goals for the year in terms of number of reviews that we're looking to get, based on giving them kind of that ownership and then encouraging them to continue to increase their over positive rating as well.
Yeah. I love that you guys are, seeing that when you give the local properties that, the kind of the reins of that, they really take control, and they get excited, and they come around that goal of getting more reviews, so that your reputation looks strong online. It really gives them that connection there, and gets everyone excited. So it's not just a couple people at corporate managing that, which I know is different from some other folks as well. So no, I like that a lot, Allison. Christine, how about you? How are you guys managing this? Have you guys decided that it makes more sense to do this at corporate? Have you guys, at the local level, like how do you guys think about that with all those different properties?
Yeah, so right now we have AI tools in place through Birdeye with some responses, but we do also monitor them very closely. And when we have a review that needs the community manager's attention, we go to them, have them help us with a response and give us any kind of data that they need to provide to go back to the resident. But our goal too is to take the negative reviews or the comments, find the solution, help the resident, and then ask them if they will turn their review around into a positive, so that it reflects, the work that we're doing on our end. And, we're definitely all about transparency. We admit when we're wrong. We also, we a lot of times there are things that could be done for the resident that would be better. And we do admit our mistakes, and we do have just full conversations with the people that are reaching out. And I think the AI tools are really helping us, because it's keeping up with that momentum. It's helping us with getting a lot of great reviews, as well as, flagging the ones that need our extra attention, and having those AI responses it's definitely helping with the volume that we're getting. And, just before we give anyone any control, we are controlling it at corporate, just because of the emotion involved. A lot of our community managers, they live on property, and there can be some emotion or some personal feelings. So, being at corporate, we don't see them and interact with them daily. So it's a lot easier for us to respond or to take the facts and, come to a resolution than it is, taking that away from the community manager, just because sometimes it's just too much for them, and they have a lot on their plate anyway. So we really try to help support them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and Sarah, I want to bring you in to this as well, but kind of want to touch on this element too, because I know we've been talking a lot about reviews and how we're responding to that. Feedback from customers can come in, or residents, et cetera, could come in from so many different avenues, whether it be social or other sites like that. So Sarah, would love to hear your thoughts, and then also, Christine and Allison, if you guys have a different piece that you want to touch on, we'd love to hear this. But, Sarah, how are you guys, like, is it the same across all, feedback channels that you guys receive, that, you guys have a similar piece? Or does it change based on, the feedback channel there?
So, I mean, I would say the tone is consistent across the board, no matter what the platform is. I think a comment just previously was about transparency. We're not trying to hide. We're not trying to hide anything, and so I think that that at times is difficult for members of our team to see, because everybody cares about the properties that they work at. They care about their residents. And sometimes it's hard to see, that we've kind of dropped the ball at times here and there. Platforms, I would say it's a little bit different across the board. We actually, previous to Birdeye, we were working with a third-party company to help us monitor and respond to all of our online reviews, and as well as create a social strategy for our social media. And actually that team has been acquired by Birdeye, which was, I mean, I was doing backflips. I was so excited to meld both worlds here, because it's been such a great experience. But, from an operational standpoint, I would say our property on-site teams are responsible for reading everything that hits their Birdeye platform regarding the properties that they're responsible for. Privately, they are supposed to be reaching out if there are concerns, happening at their property. But publicly, that's something that my team, as well as now the Birdeye team, we handle, so that way they can spend their time, focusing on their residents.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know there are certain times when it makes sense, to have your team do it, but there are different resources available just to give your team time back, which is fantastic. So now kind of switching gears a little bit, as you guys think about managing the feedback and the reputation that you guys have across the review platforms and the social media platforms and so on and so forth. How do you guys ensure like a consistent brand consistency, right? Like I know we mentioned at the top of the call, you guys have different types of properties within your portfolio, different markets that you're trying to serve. How do you guys, keep that brand consistency while letting each property still have like a little bit of personality come through there?
I know for us at Fairlawn, right, because we are having those property managers respond, most of the time those are specific on-site locations with their own name, with their own brand. And so that really helps with that. That allows that personality, that kind of thing really, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best word here, but it just really helps it hit home, really. And so, our teams at Versailles Properties know that this is a great way to respond, to really work with the residents, or Westmount, where we don't have a lot of people who are very tech savvy and like emails, right? They know how to best craft the response for that property. And so, again, with me kind of doing that oversight piece of it, I'm still ensuring that we're maintaining kind of those overarching corporate tone, perspective, things along those lines. But that also allows those specific property managers to also let their property shine and reply the best way that they see fit for those specific individuals. And so having that dual perspective is very, very helpful. And getting that, again, that personality to shine, but then also still maintaining any sort of brand tone from our end. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Christine, and I know you had mentioned that you guys take on the responsibility a little bit more at corporate within that marketing and publicity team there. But how do you guys continue to bring in the local personality into it? What does that look like for you guys?
We rely heavily on the influence of the community managers and the regional managers, because we do have RV and manufactured housing. So those are two different audiences, but some of our properties are hybrid properties where they have both. But specifically for RV, That seems to be an entirely different crowd. They want to know about deals. They want to know about new places that we have to offer. Amenities are really big for them. So we do rely a lot on the feedback that we get from regional managers, community managers that are at those properties, because they really know that audience and they have a lot of repeat customers. So we ask them a lot before we do responses, and we just kind of collaborate together. There isn't really any kind of one size fits all response for them. And for some of our other communities too, that the community manager has been there for over 10 years and they know their audience. So while maintaining a clear, consistent voice with our core values and a lot of training, we do have a whole learning and development team that we work on messaging and keeping the tone and keeping everything pretty consistent. So with learning and development, training, courses, and just really talking with our community property managers and just really helping to everyone understand what's going on and the best way to handle the responses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and shifting gears here, just a bit here, Sarah, I want to bring you into this because really curious your thoughts, given that you guys have, taken the more, more hands-on approach with more personnel, with the sales team, so on and so forth. So really curious how you guys are thinking about this. But as we've kind of followed this resident journey, right? They found you guys, they liked your reputation, they saw that you guys were responding. Maybe they've seen some social media posts, they've heard from their friends, they've decided to move in, right? Then you guys are going to start receiving feedback from them, whether that's them leaving their own review, or maybe responding to a work order survey, or even just casual conversations that they might have with the on-site team. With all of that feedback that comes in across all those different types of properties across all those markets, how do you decide, Sarah, what's worth acting on, and how do you make sure it actually drives results?
Yeah, so I mean, negative for us, the negative reviews we handle internally. Believe me, when we see a negative review, it's not something that we try to brush off and keep moving. We discuss this internally between our on-site teams, our regional manager. Sometimes it's, unfortunately issues happen, and it has to be escalated even higher than that. Luckily, it's very rare for that to occur. But yeah, we definitely take those issues seriously. An interesting thing also, and I don't know if anybody else on the panel has experienced this, I'd say in the last 6 months, we have received some online review bombs. I think it's essentially people who are not happy with policies that we have, and they negatively call out our on-site teams by name. I don't know if that's a trend, but that's something that we have actually been able to address with Google, because it wasn't even residents who were responding to online reviews. It was like, their aunt's, neighbor's, uncle's friend twice removed. But yeah, and then I would say also, it all doesn't have to be doom and gloom either. We do have a lot of positive reviews. We actually noticed for work order surveys, we were receiving astronomically fantastic, raving surveys from our residents after work orders were completed. So with our Birdeye team, we came up with a strategy of turning off surveys for work orders and turning on review requests. And that was something we implemented this year. And actually, I was told earlier this week, our Google reviews for this year are up by 138%.
Wow.
And year to date for this year alone, we're at a 4.6% average rating. So that has definitely helped and been a great strategy to follow for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you guys like really took action, right? So you were listening to your residents, noticed that you were getting a lot of fantastic feedback at a certain point in that resident journey, right? And whatever it might be, the quality of the work, the speed of the work, but you said, hey, let's capitalize on this. Let's get them to share more about this, and so other folks can see how great of an experience it is to live at our property. So I love that. Allison, how about you guys? How do you guys, think about, all the feedback that comes in? How do you decide what's worth acting on, right? Maybe what's worth even giving a kudos to your team?
Yeah, so we love using the insights feature because it helps us really know, okay, has something been mentioned more than once? In what sort of sentiment? Has it been positive or negative? And so prior to having that feature, right, we didn't have, it would be my best kind of guess. So like, oh, I think that, we're getting a lot of mentions on maintenance in a negative tone or in a positive tone, right? But using the Insights AI from this perspective really helps us truly know exactly what's going on in terms of positive or negative. We've had situations in the past where we had several elevator comments coming through and really able to get that over to the specific teams and say, hey, we're sure you're already aware of this situation going on, but you've had several reviews regarding this elevator. Like, what's going on through that process, and helping them kind of work through some additional communication with the teams from a more specific side of things. They were doing a lot of, we're working on it, but hey, this is the delay. We're waiting on a specific part. The part's going to take at least 6 weeks to come in. So giving more specific details to the residents, the information that they truly want, rather than just a blanket, we're working on it statement. And so we really used to do this on a quarterly basis where we looked at it, but now we just do this on a more real-time, hands-on perspective. So then that way we aren't waiting for something to pop up. We're catching them in that real-time moment. And from also the positive side of things, right, where we had a situation where our student side was getting a lot of reviews regarding the showing process and how the agents were doing a very great job on walking them through the process, giving them all of the information, all of those things. And so we actually worked with that manager and had her create a training to lead across all of our properties so that, we could then share that insight and data that she had to the rest of our team so they could follow some of those strategies that she was implementing with her team that were really, really working and that were getting positive recommendation. And so Insights has worked from both perspectives on not only finding issues and helping to resolve them, but then also finding those things that are working very, very well and then helping to implement those company-wide.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I see that theme kind of in a lot of your, responses and comments and opinions on what we've been able to talk about today. Just like AI kind of, being this underlying thing. You guys leaning heavily on that. Christine, curious on your end with you guys, deciding to manage a lot more of the feedback, at the corporate level. How do you guys just, if let's say a negative piece of feedback comes in, how do you make sure that that's like tracked through to resolution?
So we keep track through Monday.com, and we really follow up with everyone involved and then check in with them to see, has this been resolved? Has this been fixed? What is the status? Kind of what was just mentioned here, following up and just giving the residents or the person who left the feedback as much information as we can. They appreciate being heard. And I've seen that as a common theme. I mean, anybody who leaves a comment and that it's been noticed, you've been recognized, and not just brushed off or some generic response, but really genuinely, this is what we're doing. We are speaking with our teams. Please give us X amount of time and we will get back to you. But we use a project management tool just to manage, because we do have so many properties and we don't want anything to fall through. So I have a team that does social media, and they also help with content, and we review it. We review our statistics weekly, just to see if there's any trends and any issues in certain areas, to fix it, and then go, once with the tracking tool, we review it weekly, look at, what's the status, and get back to people as frequently as we can with as much information, just so that they know that they're being heard and that we are working on it. We didn't forget about them. Their problem is important to us. We like to value that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Christine, do you have any examples of when, you guys took feedback and made, a significant change or an operational adjustment within the business?
Yeah, so our community managers, we treat them like they're a CEO of their company. They're in charge of their P&L. They're in charge of their whole property as if they own it. And a lot of times when we acquire a new property, the residents are used to a certain way and they don't like our new rules, and they take it out personally on the community manager because of maybe parking has changed or things, amenities. And amenities are a really big thing. And we had an instance where we were going to go in and make some improvements to an area that was a bocce ball area that we didn't think was being utilized. And when we actually went on site to do some measurements and things, and we were going to put a whole new tennis and pickleball area there instead, and the residents said, no, wait, we love this. We actually would love to have some more spaces for our golf carts, and we would actually like to see the scoring system and different things that they wanted to do to improve the bocce ball area, which was less expensive for the property to actually have to do. We didn't have to do an overhaul of construction, so we just modified it and did exactly what they wanted. And then we were able to use funds that we were going to use to do the construction to have a grand opening party for their bocce ball area. We did a tournament and we had prizes, and we just made a big thing about it, and hot dogs, and just had a great big party for them as a grand opening of their space. And they were really happy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's really interesting to hear how all of you guys have taken feedback, used your own operational processes you guys have in place to make sure that you made the residents feel heard. You saw that through to completion, and gave an appropriate response to whatever that piece of feedback is, and being able to manage all of that from all those different elements here. So switching gears here, a little bit, just have a few more pieces that we want to make sure we touch on here on the docket. So Allison, I'll kick it off to you first, but as your companies continue to grow, how do you guys keep the resident experience consistent across the locations? And then, on top of that, if you could share, perhaps one lesson you've learned from scaling this business.
Yeah, I think something that's super important is just what you track improves, right? So what are the specific things that you want to track in terms of the resident experience? Is that your reputation? Is that speed to lead? Is that anywhere within the funnel? But what are you tracking, and how are you tracking that information is super important. I said that we've exceeded our 2025 goals on number of 5-star reviews that we want to receive. This is the first time we've hit it in a while. And so, looking back at what hasn't worked in the past, what has worked. One of the big things that we do, again, encouraging our teams, and we're doing different incentives to get them excited about it. But I met with our maintenance team on site, brought them donuts, orange juice, coffee, all of those things, to really specifically meet with them hands-on, to walk them through the platform, to encourage them and let them know, most of us here have said it, just the overall, not directly, but the overall importance of maintenance and how important that is. And so encouraging those teams on, the hard work, the conversations they're having day in and day out with residents, and really understanding their overall importance and asking for those reviews has really helped us this year hit that, where we haven't done something specifically like that in the past. And so finding out what you're tracking and continuing to track that, and finding ways to overall improve, and then share those goals with other teams, right? Like, we're sharing with our teams, hey, this is the specific number that we want to hit, and we can't do that without your help. And so really bringing them into the game and showing them and like letting them know and having a piece of the puzzle in order to help with that is super duper important.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's, there's so many different things as a property management company that you can take a look at, especially when you have different markets, different types of properties. There's so many different pieces of, KPIs you guys can try to track. So I love, hey, let's narrow on these ones right here. Make sure that it's, clear across the board what we're all shooting for, right? And I see that theme with you and also with Christine. You shared that you treat all the community managers as CEOs, even with full, P&L responsibility, right? So you guys really are giving them responsibility, letting them know what those goals are, so on and so forth. So, Sarah, curious on your end, like, how are you guys, thinking about this? What's maybe one lesson you've learned from, kind of scaling Westover over there?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that we always try to bring it back to is the resident experience and the overall, customer service that we really try to pride ourselves and remind ourselves that's a huge way that we can stand out across our competitors. Westover, primarily, we're B and C class properties. We're not going to have that shiny Peloton bike studio and, the butler service to feed and water and walk your pet. That's just not us. But what we do have is we have a fantastic team who genuinely care about our residents. So it's thinking about, how we can figure in the tech stack to support the customer service and not, infringe upon it and trip us up. So, I mean, I would say a big thing that we learned, is also to also have fun too, right? At the end of the day, we want to enjoy what we do because that also shines through to our prospects and to our residents. So, for Birdeye, we've actually done a quarterly contest with all of our on-site teams, whether that's maintenance or leasing or even our sales teams. And it's across properties, it's across the entire portfolio. And we recognize the people who are being called out in the best ways possible for representing our company. And reminding everybody that we're still pretty good at customer service 60 years into the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Just one more question here for you guys, and can kind of just go around the horn. Whoever wants to hop in here first, really curious about this. We've talked a lot about resident feedback, taking all that feedback and operationally, implementing the feedback that you guys receive and some different ways that you guys do that. But just curious, like, how does Birdeye help your teams work smarter and stay connected to residents overall?
For us, it's easy, right? I think that's the biggest thing is that whether it's maintenance team, leasing team, corporate team, it just makes the process of requesting a review easy. It takes out that emotional side of things where I'm sending emails with ticketings. We can get data feedback quickly, easily. It's just the overall ease of use that makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely. It makes our job a lot easier to have Birdeye consistently there to help with many tools. And we utilize a lot of them, including the features where we can take the positive reviews and post them on social media very quickly and efficiently and consistently with our own pictures behind them. It really just helps open up the channel of communication and timeliness and just making sure we're responding to everybody and that we get alerts when we need to address certain things.
Yeah, I would say, for us, we've been partnered with Birdeye. I believe it's been 3 years. It's fantastic just to not have to worry about it. the platform itself is so intuitive. It's incredibly helpful for the size of our portfolio to see everything just in a really clean, organized way. But I'd say additionally too, because the tech can only go so far, and I'm personally really strongly about the customer service. It's been having a really great strategic partner with our Birdeye representatives to evaluate what's happening and to meet with us on a quarterly basis to reevaluate our strategy to try to get us even better reviews and responses.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, thank you guys so much for all of the amazing kind of boots on the ground perspective that you guys get to see and get to experience. So I feel like we touched on a lot of really fantastic things. Things from speed to lead. Hey, how are you guys thinking about maintaining and building a strong reputation online, whether that be like on a Google review or resident review on another site, or even the social media side of things, right? Now that we've gotten all this feedback, what do we do with it, right? How do we action on this? What's the best way to do that? How do we bring in the local teams, so on and so forth? And then kind of taking all of those items and then continuing to scale. Because it's one thing to do it at one or two properties, but it's another thing to do it at 50, 100, 500, 1,000 plus properties, right? It gets more and more challenging. So it's helpful to have those goals that you guys communicate clearly and give everyone ownership over what they have. So any thoughts, any other pieces of comments you guys want to make before we wrap up here?
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you for having me. This has been a great discussion, and it's a joy working with Birdeye. Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Thanks all to those who were able to make it to the session and are watching this, virtually, understanding how Birdeye can help play a role in the renter's journey.